Welcome back to part 2 of the Winterberry wallet, where we are going to start installing or assembling the main outer pieces of the wallet. Just going to snip away some of these. So for this portion, you will need your main panel. You will need the lining piece for your main panel, and you will need the backing piece for your main panel. So the first step, we are going to place your lining and your main front panel right sides together. We're going to line these edges up. I'm going to pin these as accurately as possible. Our edges lined up. Now, there's a marking on the pattern where you will need to stop your stitches. And I'm going to mark that on my lining piece right now so I don't forget. What we are going to do is, at the seam allowance noted in the pattern, we are going to sew along, starting at the top edge here, all the way around. We're going to come to our marking, turn, and then sew to the edge of the wallet. So to your marking, turn, and then back stitch here. Okay. So what we are going to do here is we're going to make a little snip right in the corner here where our marking is, right into the corner without cutting your stitches. And this is just going to help us turn the wallet and make that edge look really nice and clean. I'm also going to make a few little snips here around these curves so that when we turn this piece over, our curves look nice and smooth. Also here in these curved pieces, if you have pinking shears, which I do not, you can use pinking shears along this edge. Now that you've snipped your curves or used your pinking shears, we're going to flip this piece. And roll your seams nicely. Make sure your curve looks nice here. And I am going to clip this in place, and we are going to top stitch along the edge that we just sewed with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. So you might need to do a little bit of work here. Roll your seams between your fingers so that you can get a nice smooth, clean edge. I'm going to clip this as I go. Okay, so your wallet should look a little like this, and your lining piece on the back should now be facing with its right side to the back. Make this look as nice as you can possibly make it look, because this will be visible at the front of your wallet, front and center, and it's the highlight of this pattern, the most unique part of the pattern, and what makes me love it the most. This is where your cell phone will slip in to the pocket if you choose to use this for your cell phone. So I really take my time here and make sure that my seams look really nice. So back to our top stitch length, and we are going to follow this seam with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. sew to our marked spot, turn, and finish the top stitch. And I will back stitch here. Okay, so this is what we have. We have our back lining piece on now, and we have top stitched along the edge. Starting to take shape, and I'm loving this fabric that I made. Okay, next we want to take this curved pocket lining piece, and we are going to line up the edges. So now there's a trick here. This should meet up with the bottom edge of your lining piece that we just sewed. And if your measurements were correct and your cutting was good, it should line up really nicely. I'm going to clip that in place. My lining here is poking out a little bit, and I don't like it. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now is flip this front panel piece up, and we are going to sew along this bottom edge, and this is what's going to close up our front slip pocket lining. So using the seam allowance in the pattern, we will sew this together. Okay, so now we've closed up our slip pocket. Next, what we want to do is we want to baste along the edge right up to the top, where we right all the way around the curve, right to this point here at the top. We are also going to baste along the side here to join our backing with our main body. You should be able to feel where that pocket ends. Okay. Any threads hanging out. All right, so there's our front slip pocket installed. Next, we are going to install our vinyl magnetic snap tab. So there is a measurement in the pattern for where to place this snap tab. I am going to line that up and baste this in place, and then we will install the female portion of the snap in this on this pocket. And I do backstitch here. I want this snap tab to be as secure as possible. We will be sewing over this a couple of times, but okay. So that is basted on. Now what we need to do is, what I do is I take the snap and I press down really as hard as I can. Maybe not on my machine. That might not be the best idea. I don't want to break my machine. But if you press down, there's a little dent that we make here. Now what you want to do is you want to measure up maybe about 1/4 of an inch from that dent. Because if we secure this snap exactly where it meets, we won't have any space to put things in this slip pocket. So I usually go up about 1/4 of an inch, and that is where I am going to place my female portion of my snap tab. So I will take the washer and place it over my marking. and draw my little lines. Okay, so when we cut these slits, we do not want to cut through all the layers of this fabric. What you're going to do is reach your hand up behind the pocket, and we're going to just cut these lines right only on this top layer of fabric. Okay, then I will install my magnetic snap, flip this over. I'll move this for you so you can see. So under here, behind your pocket, I'm going to take a piece of Decaville Light to line that as well. Make some marks here. And stick that over the prongs just for some more stability. This snap is used all the time. If you do choose to carry your cell phone in this, like I do on a daily basis, I'm opening and closing this snap all the time. So I like to make sure that there's lots of stability there. Now I will fold these prongs out because that seems to give the flattest it'll let it lay as flat as possible now, and we won't be sewing anywhere near this going forward. So I'll do that, and I am going to cover that up with some tape just to be sure that it doesn't damage any of the fabric behind it. Just give those prongs a little cover. All right, so now we have our snap installed. Okay, so now we're ready to install our first zipper. For this portion, you will need your main front panel that we just assembled. You will need your zipper facing, and you will need your longer cut of the two zippers. You will also need your two smaller pocket lining pieces. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to line up your zipper facing with the bottom edge of your wallet. And if you should have marked your box already on the zipper facing piece. I'm just really quickly going to clip that in place on the edges. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to sew around this box with a small stitch length. I usually use about a 2.5 to a 3. All right, so now that you have sewn around this box, what we are going to do is we are going to cut a slit down the center of this box and then cut into the corners where your triangles are marked. I always like to start this off with my seam ripper. It's a really good job. Go down this way. And then I'll finish with my sharp scissors. Now, if you lined up your interfacing properly on the back and cut out where you were supposed to, you should not be cutting into your Decaville Light. Okay. So we want to get as close to these corners as we can without cutting these stitches. So So you should have an opening now, your two little triangles on the end. And what we are going to do now is flip this to the other side. Okay. Sometimes this can be tricky, but it can be done. Oh goodness, my fabric just does not want to come to the other side. Okay, get it, force it that way. Now what we'll do is we will get this over here on the other side, and we're going to make sure our seams are lined up as nicely as we can get them lined up, and take this to an iron and press it. So I will finish rolling my seams and getting them to cooperate, and I will come back. Okay, so because of the interfacing I used quite a stiff interfacing. That was a challenge for me, but you should have your zipper facing to the back and a nice tidy spot for your zipper to go into. All right, so the next step. Let me double check my pattern here to make sure that I am not straying too far from the instructions, because sometimes I do things my own way. Okay, so we're going to take one exterior zipper pocket piece and we are going to lay it right side up. We are going to take our zipper, which I need to put the zipper pull on. Naughty, naughty. Do that quickly. If you've never put a zipper pull on, I do have another video all about zippers, but I will show you quickly here. So I open the end of my zipper. I place one side in and the other side in. Give a little wiggle until I hear a little click. This one is being a little trickster on me. There we go. That should be perfect. And when you can see that they're lined up, you felt that little click, you'll be able to just pull that zipper on. I sometimes will just lay it down with my fingers on either side, and there we have it. So I am going to place my first lining piece right side up. I am going to put the zipper down with the pull going to the right along the top side, also right side up. And I will clip that in place, and we are going to sew that onto the lining piece at the seam allowance asked for in the pattern. Now if your zipper tape's a little bit long, that's okay, we can trim that later. Okay. And then we are going to do exactly the same thing for the other piece. We're going to lay that right side up. We are going to take our zipper that we just sewed to one side, and we're going to lay that right side up. And I will clip that in place and sew that to the lining panel. Okay, so I do have a little bit of zipper hanging off my end. I'm just going to trim that off now. And if you have to trim your zipper, make sure you burn the ends again. We don't want that fraying in our wallet. Okay, so what you should have now is your zipper facing right side up with the wrong side of your lining facing up as well. And your zipper pull going to the left. Now, if you want, you can take this to your iron and you can press this back. And I think I actually will do that. I'm going to take that off camera and press that just so that my lining piece sits really nice. Okay, so I took that to my iron. I gave it a little press. My lining looks nice and tidy. And next what we're going to do is we are going to take our main panel with the zipper facing. We are going to make sure that our zipper pull is facing to the left. Let me just double check and make sure. Yes, to the left. And we are going to place our opening over the zipper with the edges aligned, and making sure that your lining panels are open, facing one facing down, one facing up over the wallet. So we want to center this the best we can. And if you'd like, here's a situation where I would use 1/8 inch double-sided tape. So let's do that. I don't do this every time, but for the sake of this video, it might help get the placement correct. So I'll place a strip along the top edge of my zipper here, one along the bottom edge, as close to the edge as you can get. That will prevent us from sewing through the double-sided tape if that makes your machine angry. So what I'll do first is I will remove the bottom backing off this piece of double-sided tape, and we'll place the bottom first. And once we have that situated nicely, then we can do the top. So I'm going to, as evenly as I can, line this up and get that zipper sitting in that opening as nicely as I can. Take your time here, make sure you place it really nicely. Okay. Once that is sitting nicely, you can just lift up, remove the backing from the top piece of double-sided tape, and we can place that down as well. So I like where my top piece is. Where my bottom is sitting feels a little bit too close. So I'm just going to lift it up and move it a little bit. Make sure it's sitting evenly. That's better. If your facing is sitting too close to the zipper tape, you may have problems opening and closing the zipper. So this is important to get the placement just right. Okay, now I went a little too far. There we go. All right, so I'm happy with that. And now what we are going to do is we are going to top stitch around the edge of this zipper to hold that in our pocket in place. turn. Lift, close my zipper. And finish right where you started. Okay. All right. So now you should have your zipper top stitched into your pocket. The next step is to close up this pocket. Now you will have extra fabric on one side. That's okay. We can just lay that down and trim it off. And we are going to close up this pocket entirely. We will not be doing any turning out of this pocket, so we can just go ahead and close up all three sides. All right. So I like to start over here on the right side. The reason I do is I need to lift my front main panel out of the way, and I'm going to start off at our seam allowance, and as I move up I'm going to try and come as close to this little triangle at the top. So back stitch. So when I get close to the top, I'm going to increase my seam allowance and get close to that little triangle. Okay. And the reason for that is it will, so then we could trim away on this edge, and this edge won't get in the way when we are sewing up our whole wallet. Okay, let's start on the other side. Let's start right near that little triangle. And actually backstitch here to make sure our zipper stays closed, and then decrease my seam allowance. I'm going to turn and sew up the bottom. Okay, so now we have a completely closed up zipper pocket on our wallet. Now I am going to trim down some of this bulk on the side. I'm going to trim where the zipper is. I'm going to take my little trusty lighter and give that a little burn. I'm also going to trim some of this zipper facing from the top. We don't need that anymore. Get that out of our way. And down the other side. Oh, that was a terrible cut. Singe my zipper end again. Okay, so we are on the home stretch. We are almost finished. We have one more part to this video, so I hope you'll join me for part 3, and we'll get this wallet finished. Thanks for watching.